Yo, what's going on, guys? Bot Mentality here with a trade review for you on the SPX, and today is November 5th, and it is 4:08 p.m. We just saw the market close, and so I wanted to go ahead and jump in here and just kind of review my trade for the day. So, what ended up happening? Yesterday we had, or not yesterday, Friday, we had the huge letdown pre-market regarding the trade deal. We sold off all day, saw a bounce, had that VWAP reject where I opened a call spread yesterday, which was pretty much the easiest trade in the world. And then we saw bought up here, the lows here, and we closed here right around the 272. Let's just say 272 because that was the main focus, the 272 and 273. So heading into pre-market today, we saw a slight gap down. We got bought back up and put in two tops after the open spike there, right there at that 273 focus level, right? You could also say we're above 272, but below 273. So heading into today, after seeing this such a heavy sell-off, we had the multi-day uptrend here, where we saw 1, 2, 3 green days. Heading to the fourth one, we had what we call the gapping crap, where we just gapped up, sold off all day, bounce. I was looking to see if anything horizontal action or a downtrend, or definitely not a rally day. I knew it wasn't going to be a rally day, but I didn't expect us to see much upwards momentum. So what did I do to protect against that? So heading into the day, I definitely had a bearish bias. I was looking for the pre-market highs here to act as resistance, especially on the opening parabolic, and that's what we saw here. We opened up into 930, pulled back here. We had a touchdown here at the, let's just say 271.40. Reclaim VWAP, head back up, and at this point we had a double top of the highs. It was 11 a.m. Usually I like to wait till after 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock to open up a trade, just to wait out this volatility, right? So here we saw essentially a double top and pulled back to VWAP. So at this point, I'm really thinking, okay, we saw that double top. That's a really good focus heading into the rest of the day. We have the midterms coming up. The end of the week, we had that Fed meeting. I felt like there's a pretty decent chance that we either continue here and close here around the 272.50 or sell off back towards the lows there, 271. So what I went ahead and did is, once we saw that double top, I waited for us to bounce back up here into towards 12 p.m. Noon there, and then right around here I opened up my call spread. What I actually opened up was a 27.55 by 27.65 call spread and collected 1.48%. You'll see here that I include my loss on here, not lost. I included my loss on here, which I'll explain here in a second, because what happened was, I opened that up, saw a lower high, good lower high, but then we pulled back below VWAP, held these lows, and made a higher low. So at this point, this is one of the things I said in my chat room. At this point, it's a clear equilibrium pattern. Once we had, that was a really bad zoom in right there. There we go. Once we had that bottom and we reclaimed VWAP right here, we're in this equilibrium pattern where we're seeing the highs, lower highs, and higher lows. And what it's looking like is there is a potential for an end of day curl. So my stop would be, if we do see an end of day and we curl up towards the 273 and break, I'm going to go ahead and take off my position, because I didn't expect to see a breakout over the high days. Not after such long consolidation. I was definitely bearer biased. I expected us to move to trend further down. I'd rather go ahead and take it off and take a small loss and walk versus being stressed out and letting it get closer and closer to the short side of my spread. So what ended up happening here, as you'll see, is we did reclaim VWAP and we started to slowly head back towards those highs. So at this point, I'm getting my stop out level in mind, and I'm just watching to see how the action trades, see how time decay affects the price of the spread, etc. We continued heading up higher, and we saw this initial parabolic. Now on this, one thing I've learned is just don't ever just panic and take it off. Wait for the pullback to go ahead and take off your position. If you're in a period of, if you're uncomfortable. For me, I would rather just be safe than sorry, just given what I've seen so far, and that we've been in such heavy volatility in the market coming off from the all-time highs, so much stuff going on regarding the rate hikes and volume and volatility that I never knew what could, I never know what could happen. I don't want to underestimate the market. So my thesis really was invalidated right here. When we held VWAP, continued and broke, but where I could have taken off the trade and still kept a profit was right here in this area. Once I saw the higher lows here above VWAP, if I would have just went ahead and took it off because say, hey, I don't want to risk a 50-50 trade. Are we going to break down from the equilibrium or break up from the equilibrium pattern? If I would have just said I don't want to risk a 50-50 trade and just took off, that wouldn't have been an issue. But what ended up happening was we did head up to higher days. We broke here and saw the volume. So now I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to wait for a pullback to take it off. We saw saw a small pullback right here. This was it. This small pullback. Now, when we pulled back to this point, I went back to being essentially flat, where I was just break even. The premium shifted very quickly because time decay was working in my favor. At this point, we have about an hour and a half until the close. Right when I was trying to get my orders ready, I wasn't quite ready to jump out right here. I was still watching it, but very quickly you'll see we ramp back up to the highs. And so once we saw this reclaim right here, I ended up taking off my position on this pullback here towards the 27370s, and I went ahead and closed the short side of my call spread, and that's where I ended up taking that 3.42% loss. Which in the grand scheme of things is not a big deal. I definitely can make that back this week, as long as I stay focused. Not a big issue, but this is the real bummer, guys. This is what really hurts. Is it turns out the whole time I was correct on having that 2755, because as you can see into the close we pulled back and we didn't re-break those highs. So pretty much I stopped out at the high of day. Is how it looks at it, as far as having that short bias there on the bear call spread. So if we look at the SPX to see how that translates over, you guys can see how much room I actually still had. Let me see here. Okay, so I went ahead and pulled that up. So here's the SPX, and you'll see the 2755 is all the way up here. So we would have had to do that same move twice in order to get to the short side of my my call spread. Now, with me being me and the risk tolerance and watching, an unrealized loss, that wasn't something I was going to let happen. I would rather take it off once my ideal was invalidated by the higher lows breaking the that 273 level, these previous highs. But as you can see, we did pull back to the close and then closed right here. So I was right the whole time. If I would have left it on, I would have ended up 1.4% instead of down 3.42%. Major bummer there, but I'm fairly happy with my risks and taking off the trade. I should have did it quicker once I saw that we were right here under higher days, or on this first initial pullback instead of waiting till this pullback. If I would have taken the trade off right here, I would have been able to get out pretty much break even. It would have been like maybe a 0.25 or 0.5% loss versus what I went through. So just something to keep in mind, documenting in my trade journal and following up on that later. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how midterms are tomorrow and what the market decides to do and how it's going to set up for Wednesday's expiration. So I am very interested in that. And I also plan to expand in my playbook a little bit and work with some covered calls as well. So I've been actually developing that strategy on the side. Just been talking with the chat about that. But that's kind of what today's trade was, guys. I just want to make sure I'm consistent with these reviews for you. I don't just show the up days, show the down days as well, and my thought process for it. I can always go back and review. But the main thing to take away from this was I should have been in this chop right here. I think it really was a 50-50 move. We could have broken down or broken up. I don't see how, given the previous day's price action, trading heavy this day makes sense, but we just came a little too close to my risk on that curl. But looking back, if I would have just saw that we were in, it was almost 1:30 in the afternoon, and we were holding above VWAP and saw that strength, I should have took it off then. So looking forward, if we're seeing strength into VWAP after 1 o'clock, that would be a red flag I'm going to be keeping in mind moving forward. That's something I'm going to document in my trade journal. So, all right, guys, that is all I have for you guys today. Continue to stay focused on developing that bot mentality, which is your trading mentality, and learn to eliminate emotions like I did here, taking that loss and just hopping out, and learn how to trade like a machine, guys. I'm out of here. Deuces.